Alright, so before we start, this is an experiment to kind of learn the process behind creating a story, a storyboard, and trying to mess around and see what I can do. So the art isn't like super amazing. So if you're gonna tell me to go improve my art, well, I already kind of know. Anyway, this is the story of Elsa, letting it go. It's gonna be kind of a retelling slash fan fiction for those of you who have watched Frozen, and for those of you who have never watched Frozen, this is exactly what happens in the movie. So there's once this town called Arendelle, and in this town lived a little girl named Elsa, who had a wonderful, wonderful family. She had a loving sister, a caring mother, a powerful father, and a lot of servants. This should be, the perfect life. But there's one big problem. Elsa has magical ice powers, and it would be cool if this were like an anime or something. But this is a Disney movie, and something tragic is always going to happen. And one day, Elsa and her sister Anna were playing around, and Elsa almost kills Anna, which leads to Anna becoming brainwashed. And after that point, they kind of decided that, Elsa, you should stay away from people, like forever. Like, don't ever touch another fucking human being again because you could kill them. And that's kind of scary. So they locked her away and made sure that she never had contact with another human being again, at least until her parents went on this nice boating trip. And, well, let's just say they went under the sea, down where it's wetter, because that's where it's better. And a lot of depressing stuff happens, and Elsa grows up and ascends to the throne. But she still has a really big problem. She has these ice powers. And whereas she was told to stay away from people, she was now surrounded by people. And naturally, she fucks it all up, blows her cover, and now everybody knows that she has snow powers. So she runs off into the mountains, crying her ass off and being all depressed until she reaches the peak and then realizes that she's free now. So she starts kind of singing and dancing and getting all sexy. But after a while of being sexy and free, Elsa realized that she was ultimately still alone. And this is where the story kind of has a crossover. So bear with me. She's sitting there on top of her castle, and out of nowhere, while she's contemplating if she should end her life or not, she gets pelted in the face with this magical snowball, and it brings this smile to her face. And that's pretty amazing considering she was probably going to end it all right then and there. Anyway, so she looks around and sees this guy with his blue sweater and his giant staff, and he introduces himself as Jack Frost. Now, for those of you who don't know who Jack Frost is, he's this spirit that's invisible, and he can pretty much go anywhere that he wants, and that's cool. But it's incredibly lonely being invisible, and he does everything he can to make people pay attention to him. So he, throws snow around, makes people laugh and smile, and they still don't know or care about who he is. And so ultimately, all the other Christmas spirits and holiday people see him as like this nuisance, even though he's doing his best to make people happy and to find his place in the world. So Jack looks at Elsa and says, "You look kind of sad. What seems to be the problem, ma'am?" And Elsa looks at him and she feels something inside of Jack, reflects something inside of her. Kind of. And she decides to open up and tell Jack everything that has happened up until this point in her life. And after a while, Jack laughs because he's kind of a dick, but also because he wants to help her. You see, Jack has the same kind of powers as Elsa. Maybe not as powerful or cool, but, the idea is the same. And he brings joy to other people's lives. So he tells Elsa, "Let's go to Arendelle and let's put some smiles on some people's faces so I can show you how awesome it is having these crazy ice powers." Meanwhile, after they had left, Anna and that other guy, her friend and his reindeer, get to Elsa's castle because they were trying to reason with Elsa and say, "Hey, it's cool that you have these powers. Could you please unfreeze the town?" But because Elsa and Jack are gone, they kind of just sit there, and there's probably like weird romantic tension going on. Like the kind between two horny teenagers, but they don't do anything like a couple of horny old people. So, anyway, Jack and Elsa are on the rooftops of Arendelle, and they're like stalking people like a couple of ninjas, chucking snowballs. And Elsa sees the result of Jack's work, and Jack tells her to try it out. Now, something to know about Elsa and Jack, the big difference. Jack is the spirit of fun. He is all about bringing joy. He's able to travel the world and do whatever he wants, so he knows what fun is. Elsa has been locked away in her room until like age 20 or something. She pretty much didn't have a childhood, and I really doubt that she has any resemblance to understanding the concept of fun. And so the snowball that she creates is anything but fun. And she chucks it at the townspeople, and it completely terrifies them because it's this giant, deadly blizzard that rips apart all of their faces. Let's let's quit while we're ahead. So the townspeople by now have shat themselves and have broken from Jack's happy-go-lucky spell, and they look at the two and they start getting really pissed off and start yelling horrible things and chucking rocks at Elsa. But Jack is a really cool guy, and he gets in the way and blocks all of them, thinking that Elsa is probably really impressed. But Jack doesn't calculate just how much these rocks are fucking him up. And so he's really, really hurting. And Elsa, who isn't really impressed, is zoned out and going into this dark part of her mind where all of her childhood traumas and social anxieties start piling up until eventually they spiral out of control. And she, in a way, lets it go all over the townsfolk because Jack is a really sweet guy who just wanted to help, and these people are hurting him for no reason. So she buries Arendelle in a lot of fucking snow and condemns her people to this icy burial where they'll be frozen in time for all of eternity. And she finds Jack, who is just glad that he's alive and may recover from all of the internal bleeding that is pouring out of his mouth. So she grabs Jack by the hand and she flies off to her castle. And the lesson we can all take from this is that sometimes it's okay if people don't accept who you are. Because really, it's enough that even one person accepts who you are. And Elsa learned that, most importantly, she learned to accept who she was, which is this crazy killer ice witch that could probably destroy the world. So she gets to her castle and she finally builds a fucking snowman with her sister. The end.